Welcome back. Another episode. Second week. We're actually doing this. Kind of proud of us for staying on schedule here, people. We're going to be talking about the Illinois State game, recapping that, maybe a look around the SEC because a lot of people did talk about how Oklahoma's schedule was going to be so difficult this year. I think a lot of questions came up about a lot of teams on our schedule, so I might touch on that, and then a bit of a preview to Michigan as well. Obviously, Oklahoma was able to win the game as expected. We almost had some accurate score predictions. I think you guys both gave them a field goal. Can't remember the scores you guys predicted for Oklahoma, but a lot of rumble on Twitter about the Oklahoma offense. So I'm going to start with Brandon. What did you think about the game? Were you concerned, as many are on Twitter? Are you feeling fine about it? What are your thoughts?
I'm definitely not panicking. Maybe some people might be, but the positives. John Mateer looked the part. He set the OU record for passing yards in your debut at 392, I think. So he looked good. I thought he made a lot of good throws. I thought it was fun to see us stretch the ball down the field because we didn't get to do that a whole lot last year. Hit some deep balls. I thought Jaren Kanak at tight end was another bright spot, minus the one fumble. The fumble sucks, but outside of that, he had 90 yards on 5 catches. So he looked like he's going to contribute a little bit at tight end, like he finally found a spot, which is good. He's an awesome guy. So I thought all that was good. So then you go to the 3.2 yards of carry that everyone's freaking out about. I think this game plan was just so not show anything. You got 2 offensive linemen that are probably going to play a lot in Derek Simmons and Michael Fasusi, who didn't even play in that game. I think that's going to change. I think Jaden Knott, as the season goes along, and probably even in this Michigan game coming up, is going to be a guy that plays a lot more. I think what we saw out there on Saturday is not going to be even close to what we see out of the Sooners that we'll see throughout the whole season. So it's hard to take a lot from this game. You take the positives in the John Mateer and Jaren Kanak. You'd like to see the running game develop and be a little bit better than it was on Saturday. I do think that Torrey Blaylock looked like a very bright spot there. He was running the ball really hard, really well. I scored a touchdown, which was pretty cool. And then the defense, I think the defense did what they were supposed to do. They surrendered a field goal, but it really wasn't their fault. John Mateer threw a pick there, and they were already in field goal range. They went 3 and out, but they got a field goal. Defense looked pretty good. I would have liked to see a little more sacks and maybe some takeaways, but I think their game plan was just to get rid of the ball so fast, keep it as close as they can, get paid and get out, and that's what they did. Overall, solid win. It's always going to be 1-0, and now we got Michigan.
Emily?
I think the overreactions that you mentioned on Twitter, those are always going to be there. It's week 1. People are going to nitpick. We're also, week 1, we don't want to go out there and injure our guys or, like y'all were saying, like everyone was calling it vanilla play calling, whatever. I mean, we got the win, and that's kind of the goal for week 1 when you schedule these teams. I thought our offense looked really good. I just like you said, Brandon, like our defense, I don't think was not concerned about our defense, and I know we were walking into the season not super concerned about it, just kind of like, they were good last year, but we have no reason to believe they won't be good again this year. Our offense was obviously the question, and I think it's something to look forward to. Like obviously we're not, that wasn't everything. I think based on that, if that's the baseline, I think going forward it's going to be really exciting to watch. It's going to be fun. There were some obviously with Jaren Kanak, like that. I think his fumble was like his first catch of the game, or it was like 4 minutes in or something. It was super early, so like that could have been a confidence killer for him, especially with it being his first start at tight end. And I don't think it killed him too much. I think he had a decent game. And even like watching John Mateer, like with his like, and I think he looked kind of spunky, kind of fun. Like he had some fun little scrambles in there. So I think it's exciting. I think it's gonna be a fun team to watch this season. And
I agree.
y'all were at the game. I want to know what the atmosphere was like there.
I was there.
Brandon?
It was good. I think we're all very excited to be back. It was pretty packed. The intro video is always fun, and then towards late third quarter, mid third quarter ish, the student section starts to file out because they got to get to campus corner. And it was, pretty much the part you'd think for a week one game, but it's always really cool at kickoff. That's the best part of these week one games because that's where there's not an empty seat in the house and it's loud and it's fun. It was cool. I mean, I definitely enjoyed being there. I'm looking forward to being at the Michigan game. I think people will be in their seats a lot longer at that one, which is going to be a lot more fun. And I want to just talk real quick about just how cool it was to see GW back out there at corner. He's been out for a while. His shoulder's been banged up. I think he looked pretty good. Guillory out there at the other corner as a freshman, I thought he looked really good. We're still missing Eli Bowen. There's a lot of fun things that are coming up for us.
Yeah, I think this game was, like you said, Emily, a really good baseline for both sides of the ball, especially if it was pretty vanilla. The run game, I think, is a little bit of a concern when it's not Torrey Blaylock because that kid looked really good and made really good plays. Hopefully that shoulder was just a stinger and they kept him out because it was unnecessary to put him back in. Like, just keep him healthy for next week when he's going to be a lot more important. The situation with Jay Knott is interesting. I get like trying to keep him healthy and making sure he doesn't get banged up any more than he already is. But why put him in at all if that's the case? Like, he was in for kick returning and then a couple of offensive plays in the fourth. He had one carry and then one ball thrown his way.
Yeah.
And obviously nothing happened in the two plays that were drawn up for him. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything more than like trying to keep him healthy. But if you're trying to give him some run, give him like a whole quarter, like the second quarter, third quarter, when you kind of pulled away already score-wise and get him going. So that's interesting. Hopefully he's ready for next week if it is an injury thing that's still bugging him. Because him and Torrey Blaylock would be a good 1-2 punch in that backfield. Defensively, and I brought this up to Brandon when we talked about it over the weekend, it's can we stop the run game? I think we did a pretty good job for the most part, like throughout the game. But their running backs were able to get 117 yards on us, and one guy specifically averaged 7 yards a carry. Like they were able to get some pretty big plays in the run game, and that's kind of that's what could kill us against Michigan. Like they are very good at running the ball, and their offensive line had some moments in their game that wasn't very good, but then they would open up just giant holes that anyone could run through and probably get 10 yards. And a guy like Justin Haynes was able to get 40 and 50-yard touchdowns, I think. So can't let that happen against a good team like Michigan, especially in the run game. Defensively, our pass defense might be the best part of our defense, which is crazy to say because that defensive line is no joke. But Cortland Guillory, like you said, was very good. Gentry Williams was good. Eli Bowen isn't back yet, but those three guys rotating at corner could be nasty. And Devon Jordan got some reps. Jeremiah Newcomb got some reps. We saw a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen out in the secondary, and they all played pretty well. Reggie Powers had a huge hit in the fourth quarter on I think it was a screenplay, and he broke it up in the backfield. Offensively, John Mateer is as advertised. I don't think anyone looked at that game and was like, that. He's disappointing. If anything, he might have just gotten a bit more hype behind him, especially within Oklahoma fans. But it could be a good start to what could be a potential Heisman campaign for him if things go right. Offensive line, better, not great. But again, like if this is a baseline, we're so much further ahead than we were last year. Like if this year's offense and we have a defense similar to last year, like 9-10 wins is very possible with the schedule, especially from what we saw out of our scheduled opponents over the weekend.
Yeah. So do you guys want to do just a bit of that Michigan preview? I mean, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. It's definitely their run game. I think Justice Haynes obviously looked good on those 2 carries, but he's an explosive guy that can find a little just a small crease and kind of take off and hit a big one like you were talking about. So that's definitely the thing to watch, I think. But we watched some of that Michigan game later that night or Sunday night, whatever it was. Obviously, we didn't watch the whole game. We kind of just saw snippets and pieces and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, that's a 10-point game with 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the third quarter. It's 27-17, about to go into the fourth. Like, New Mexico hung around, a lot closer than Illinois State did, and it's, again, week 1, and I'm sure Michigan did the same thing as we did, is they probably had some key guys that didn't play week 1 and they didn't show everything that they're going to show, throughout the season. But I thought that New Mexico, all things considered, was kind of competitive there. I think and I'm sure everyone's saying the same thing, because on our side is, if we play this way against the Wolverines, we're going to get smacked. And I'm sure their fans are saying the same thing, but it's going to be interesting to see how that game, how it develops. And I do think we're going to have Bryce Underwood in a lot more just tough situations in the pass game than what he did against New Mexico. So the run game is going to be a big one. Their D-line, their defense, we need to establish a run against them. And I think after that, I still think this team can beat them by 2 scores, like I predicted, on our first show back. But I'm excited.
Yeah,
I did get to watch a lot of that Michigan game, and think mostly because of the just absurd amount of commercial breaks that our game had for being on SEC Network Plus or whatever the hell it's called. I swear to God, we probably saw just as many commercials as we did actual football. But the Michigan defense is just not as good, especially their pass defense. Their tight end for New Mexico ate on that Michigan defense. He had 2 touchdowns, I think 8 or 9 catches. Like, he was putting work on those linebackers and the corners when they were lined up against them. So we can beat them through the air. And Jaron Kanik showed that he can be a big play guy at the tight end position. Defensively, like we've said, you cannot let big runs happen. I mean, the safeties are going to be extremely important, because Michigan's talented enough where they might pop off one big one, but the safety's going to need to get a touchdown saving tackle. So they're going to need to be prepared. Like, it's not. It could get ugly if they can establish a run game, because then Bryce Underwood won't have to deal with so much pressure. They can always go back and put Justice Haynes and get him 200 yards.
Yeah, I actually didn't get to watch any of the Michigan game, to be completely honest. But I mean, I think it's again overreacting to week 1. Obviously, you don't want to have your cupcake team hanging around in the third, fourth quarter, but again, they could have been doing the same thing, kind of like what we think is, just kind of hold it, get the win, and make it to the next game. But we're kind of lucky that we get week 2, we get to have a game where we can kind of judge that and see what we're going to look like walking into SEC play.
Yeah,
Well, this is Sharon Moore's last game before the suspension he's serving. I think it's a 4-game suspension. So he's definitely going to want to make sure that people remember.
When he's coming back to his alma mater too, he definitely wants this one. And I just think if you get Michigan into passing situations, 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs, 1st and 2nd down are going to be so important. You don't want 2nd and 3s, 2nd and 2s. You want 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7, and then 3rd and 9 and up versus 3rd and 3 and shorter. 3rd and 4. I think that is going to be really big. And if they're in 3rd and long or 3rd and even medium, I really, really like our chances a lot. I think our corners will be able to do just fine against that Michigan passing attack. I think our D-line can get after Bryce Underwood, and I think that's where we would cause a lot of trouble. But I think that could be said about every single game, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I agree. And we're probably going to know more about this Michigan game and hopefully some of the injury updates by Thursday.
I think it's when the depth chart.
Fasusi didn't play. Derek Simmons didn't play. I mean, he was on the field, but he barely played.
Eli
There's
Bowen.
plenty of guys that still
Yeah.
need Eli Bowen. Yeah, but Ozida, like that, even on the offensive line, still people were playing completely. So I think Oklahoma's got a very good chance here. It's going to be a good game. I mean, two big programs, prime time football. So it's going to be fun. I do want to go down our schedule again. Now that we've seen all of them play, what we actually think, of the difficulty of our schedule. Because I've been saying that it's not as hard as some people believe it'll be. Like, it's not easy, but like, it's not running through some gauntlet. Like, there were a lot of teams on our schedule that did not look good, starting with Alabama. They might suck.
Isn't that just weird to say, but it's so true. Like, Alabama might suck. They got their ass kicked by Florida State, and I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card, but it was kind of cool to see. I think Arch Manning, it was also cool to see him get just a little bit humbled. Not to say I hate the kid or anything, because I mean he's just a kid, but man, he gets sucked off like he already won the Heisman Trophy. Like, he's already, taking them to the national title game. Everything, he's perfect. He can't do any wrong. All this stuff. And Ohio State kind of was like, who the hell is this guy? He just didn't look very good. He threw a pick. He was throwing a lot of incomplete passes. I think the scary part about that Texas game now, though, and looking forward to it, is despite maybe how poorly they played, especially, Arch in some situations. I know he kind of got it going a little bit later in the game and gave him a chance, but they turned the ball over there. They, did their famous where they get to the 1 yard line and can't score. They went for it on 4th and 3 and didn't get it from the 8. They passed on field goals twice, the getting down to the 1 yard line and getting turned away, and then going for it. I think it was 4th and 3 at the 8 or something. And they didn't convert. They left points on the field. And that's not to say Ohio State didn't do the same thing, but they were right there till the end, despite not playing good. And, I think if they start to get a click, and that Texas team could be, really good. But also maybe Arch Manning might be ass.
Hey, you said it first. I'm not even gonna lie, and I wanted to save this for whenever we play week 5, Texas Hate Week, of course. I've been an Arch hater since day one. He's a kid. He doesn't deserve it. But the people who are hyping him up just because of his last name, they deserve it. Because I'm going to save my big rant, but poor kid, he's way overhyped. But, like, he was throwing balls 5 yards past his receivers. Like, they had no chance to catch that ball. He might be ass. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I wanted to talk about Auburn, though, because Jackson Arnold might not be ass. He might
be right. Disagree.
Yeah,
he is a running back.
Back and forth in that thing. Just real quick to go back to the Arch thing. I think, Emily, you need to make a shirt that says Arch Hater since day one with the TPS logo somewhere on it.
Would anyone buy it? I hope so.
That'd be a good shirt for Texas Hate Week.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. I'm writing that one all the way in, and I'm gonna save it because I'm gonna let him have a couple more weeks to prove it, see if he can be a little better, but he might be ass. Jackson Arnold, though, was running all over Baylor defense on Friday night. That was kind of cool to watch. So that we have week 4, week 3, week 4?
Week 4.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one to watch, especially with Jackson Arnold coming back into the Palace in an Auburn uniform, but he looks decent, and obviously he has a better offensive line and people to throw the ball to. But yeah, that was kind of cool to watch. We'll see what he looks like.
I was high in Auburn. I still think they're pretty decent. I think Jackson Arnold could be good. And then Hose and I talked about it a lot over the weekend, and the guy really can't throw the ball very well. Like, if you can make him, if you can stop his running game, because he does run the ball very well. He's shown it a lot of times. He did it against Alabama. He ran all over Baylor. He's a very athletic guy, and if he gets outside and if there's some running lanes for him, he's going to hurt you. But if you stop his run game, I mean, we went through pretty much the whole game. Like, he hit on two good balls. That seam ball, and I think in the second quarter was a pretty good throw, and then he hit Cam Coleman on another long one. But outside of that, I mean, he had like 100 yards passing or something like that, like 120 yards passing. he might be asset throwing.
I wouldn't qualify myself as a hater exactly, but I don't think he's that good. That 2023 class, and I tweeted it out, is just very questionable with how recruiting analysts or whatever the hell they're called decided to rank those kids. All of those 5 stars kind of suck. Dante Moore is the only one that's still TBD because he's just now starting and he looked pretty good in his first game at Oregon. But Arch Manning hasn't really looked amazing as a passer. He's been decent. Yeah, I think him and Jackson are the exact same quarterback. Not great passers. They might be able to improve, but phenomenal runners. I think they both run the ball really well, but their job is not to be the running back that takes direct snaps. It's a quarterback and pass the ball, stretch the field. Neither of them have proven that they can do that consistently. Nico Iamaliava blows and is a crybaby, so shouldn't be a 5-star. The best one is Lenore Sellers in that class. That kid's special. We can talk about South Carolina in a second. But Auburn, I think, I mean, like you guys said, stop the run and you have force Jackson to pass. You have a really good shot to beat them. The other thing, though, is their defense was so bad. They could not tackle. It looked like Alex Grinch was their defensive coordinator. Like, Baylor, I think the Baylor quarterback's pretty decent. He played well, and apparently he had a really good season last year. I don't know too much about him. I'm just kind of going based off of week one, really. But his wide receivers would catch slant routes, like quick routes, and then break what felt like 3 or 4 tackles, get another 10 yards of yak before they got out of bounds or finally got put on the ground. Like, if that's how they're going to play defensively, they're going to, no matter how good that offense is, that's going to be Big 12 football. And I don't think you can survive like that in the SEC. At some point, the defense is going to need to make a play, and they did not prove that they could versus Auburn or versus Baylor.
No, I mean, I agree that their defense got lit up. Their pass defense is atrocious, but we'll see. What else happened in the SEC?
South Carolina, we can go to them.
Got yet? I think what you can kind of know right now, going ahead towards the rest of the season, is South Carolina and LSU are very, very good football teams. I think both those teams are going to be very tough. South Carolina just was good at almost every phase. They really don't have a whole lot of holes, and that Lenore Sellers kid can really do it. And then LSU going there and beating Old Clemson in the Battle of the Tigers in another a great game. But those teams are going to be good. I think those are the only ones that you can take away from week one and be like for sure. I think Texas does rebound. They're not going to be bad. They had a bad game and they were right there to the very end against Ohio State. Alabama's ass. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think they suck. I think this is their year to win 6 games. That's going to be crazy. I think Kalen DeBoer's probably going to get canned, but yeah, South Carolina and LSU, very, very good.
Yeah. Lenore Sellers might be the Heisman winner at the end of the year. But he played really, really well, and he made some big plays for him.
I think John Mateer's the Heisman favorite now. I think I saw that.
I don't know. Someone can double check that.
Yeah.
But South Carolina, I think we all expected that to be a tough game once it gets on our schedule because it's right after Texas. But after watching them against Virginia Tech, Virginia Tech played them really well, so maybe they're not amazing, but they look good. They found a way to not lose a very losable game through 3 quarters. Who else? Ole Miss looked fine, but they played nobody.
Yeah. Same thing with Florida. I think they won.
Florida.
A lot to 0. I forget what they scored, but it was a lot to 0.
Mm-hmm.
But they played like Long Island or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's cool though, especially with like Alabama having maybe a down year. Like you look around the SEC and it's like it used to be like the top, and then this drop off, and I mean that's just kind of not just the SEC but college football as a whole. But it was those Georgia, Alabama, those SEC teams. The playing field is kind of being evened a little bit, and that's all kind of thanks to NIL and all that stuff and the changes that are coming. But it is kind of cool. Like you look at historically you look at like our schedule and you're like, okay, well, this is going to be really tough. Maybe not, because everyone always thinks that Alabama is going to be the team that you have to beat, and they really got it handed to them this week by Florida State. And not to say that Florida State's a bad program, they're not, but like, you never know. And it's week one, so we're still kind of discovering like, who is the team to beat this year. Um, so that's kind of the fun in week one. Like, you just don't know.
Now, see what's
Yeah.
crazy? We're all sitting here, saying Alabama sucks, or like I pretty much said I think they're gonna be bad, but
Yeah.
it's week one, and they watch them go 11-1 now. They'll just figure it out and be rolling like the Alabama Bowl. But I don't see a way where they do. I don't think Ty Simpson's very good at playing quarterback. I don't think. I mean, they didn't do really anything well again in that game against Florida State. They couldn't pass, they couldn't run, they couldn't stop anything. It just looked atrocious. But that's what's one game. We'll see.
Yeah. Lots of football left, like you said, Em, but the schedule looks more manageable after 1 week of play. So we'll see what happens after next week. I think that is it for today's video. We appreciate everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.